Before I get into today's video, I want to say that I am sorry about the things that I did wrong in the last video. Obviously, I overgeneralized the prepper community, and I did commit some ad hominems as well as a straw man. I am deeply sorry for that, guys. It just came out, I don't know why. Um, with that being said, I want to get into today's video. Authoritarian personalities in the left. The reason why I made this video is because some of the time SJWs tend to be SJWs because of authoritarian personalities, most likely in their parents. However, this isn't the only reason to why we have SJWs. Obviously, there is more than one reason to why SJWs exist. Exposure, this includes a exposure to the extremes of one side of the political spectrum, most likely those who institute forced conformity to traditionalism, and the response with SJWs is to conclude with a forced conformity to anti-traditionalism. The response, of course, should be to ridicule these people, to the intent where they no longer are a problem in society. However, we should also understand why they may exist to help ridicule both sides. Google defines authoritarian personality as a state of mind or as an attitude characterized by a belief in absolute obedience or submission to somebody else's authority, as well as an administration of that belief through the oppression of one's subordinates. Authoritarian personality is a state of mind or attitude characterized by belief in absolute obedience or submission to somebody else's, I meant to say, authority, as well as the administration of that belief through the oppression of one's subordinates, as I said before. Theodor Adorno was a German philosopher and sociologist of the Frankfurt School and was the university professor of sociology at the University of California, Berkeley, who coined the term authoritarian personality. Dr. Adorno was very much an anti-Nazi, as much as he actually disliked the Nazi German party. Dr. Adorno's examinations, of course, had discovered that the Nazis, or the SS, basically were much more inclined to authoritarianism. Examinations that showed that the Nazis were very, very based on indoctrination that had a fear-based element to it. However, Dr. Adorno realized that there was Adorno, I meant to say. However, Dr. Adorno realized that there was an element of authoritarianism both not only in the Nazis, but in the actual Allied troops as well. For this, he came up with the test to expose authoritarian personalities. I don't remember the name of the test, so it's not in the script. The test was able to score people based on a 1 to 10 scale. If people ended up scoring 5 and above, they ended up being more authoritarian, and if they scored 4 or less, they ended up being more liberal. You might say, what's the importance of this? Well, of course, the most important thing is to an authoritarian is fear and stability, which is often accompanied with a utopian idea under the idea that the authority of the state will give them security. The fear is always fear of change, fear of other people who do not consist of their in-group, fear of people who go against their traditions, and for religious people, it is often accompanied with fear of what their God will do to those who do not follow their religious text. For example, Christians, the fear is often derived from the book of Revelations, and a lot of times they fear people who are gay, who are atheist, who are something else. That's a big problem. The next thing is security. In the family households, authoritarians feel that it is their importance to, of course, import their own beliefs onto their children for fear of hell or for fear of social outcasting, which sometimes is unfounded, to prevent fear of social outcasting. However, they use forced conformity on their children. Sometimes, or some authoritarians, I should say, seem to have the belief that this will enforce security and, of course, strict sort of authoritarian utopia within the family. Forced conformity to traditionalism. Forced conformity leads to child abuse and, of course, stripping of rights of the child to keep them in a contained status, such as to keep the authoritarian parent content while subduing the personality, sexuality, religious belief, or gender of the child contained. This can cause the child to do two things that I have been able to pin down. 1, rebel against the parents. 2, adopt the authoritative personality themselves in later adulthood. Answer: response to the child rebelling to the authoritarian parent. The authoritarian will try to redirect the child's hatred towards them. This has negative consequences in some cases, resulting in epigenetic changes that may cause narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD as it is called. High levels of this psychological behavior can and often do lead to homeopathic outbursts, normally resulting in the death of the source of the actual hatred from the child. However, this is not the end of the child's hatred. The child will often imply hatred to others. The social justice warrior response to forced conformity. Social justice warriors don't have a response to forced conformity, as they use forced conformity themselves. However, they do have a response to traditionalism. The idea is that they are revolting against traditionalism. They can't stand the traditions that the authoritarian implies, and for good reason. The discrimination against the minorities, who SJWs put on a high pedestal, but SJWs in response are very much willing to discriminate against authoritarians. Authoritarians view things in black and white, but so do SJWs. Social justice warriors seem to do the exact same things for exact opposite reasons. They tend to say they believe in libertarian socialism, but they, however, tend to have extreme left-wing authoritarian behavior. They see the issues that the authoritarian traditionalists are doing, and to people, I meant to say, not and, to people who are minority groups, but their response is to strip away the rights of the authoritarian in favor of forced conformity to anti-traditionalism. This, of course, fuels the hatred and the fear of SJWs by authoritarians. Conclusion. Authoritarian personalities can cause further and incite more hatred within those who have disregards for traditionalism. The SJWs have no intention on any hands to actually do anything about forced conformity on a whole, as they believe in it themselves. Because of this, it is only necessary that both the authoritarian personality and the SJW should both be mocked and ridiculed, as mockery of bad ideas and bad behaviors leads to changes within society. Hatred should be used to imply a positive outcome to society, one that is not going to strip away the rights from those who use hatred for the wrong things. Unlike the SJW or the authoritarian, it should be applied to the wrongs of the government, not the people of the government. This is more true than reality. SJWs, they don't hate they don't hate forced conformity. They hate traditionalism. They use forced conformity against people just as much as authoritarians use it. This is why we have to come down against both sides. If you like the video, rate, comment, and subscribe. I also have a Patreon account where sometimes when I do make scripts, I actually post to there. So please go and click on the links down below in the description. And thank you for watching the video. And anyone who does subscribe to my Patreon, thank you for subscribing to my Patreon.